Welcome again to another Caring Support podcast. Super excited this week. We have the amazing Miranda Ferrier from the Ontario Personal Support Workers Association and the Canadian Support Work Association. So OPSWA, as we call it in Ontario. Miranda is the CEO and president. Welcome, Miranda. Please, if you could do an introduction to yourself, that would be great.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, James. I'm happy to be here. So Miranda Ferrier, CEO, Ontario PSW Association, Canadian Support Workers Association. I'm also a personal support worker myself. I graduated Mohawk College in 2006, and I began my career in Ontario healthcare. I've worked in home care, long-term care, hospital settings as a personal support worker. Founded the association in 2010 because there was a need. You could tell there was a need for PSWs to have our own voice, have a place we could call our own. And 12 and a half years later, here we are.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great to hear, and huge respect. So, what is, you kind of touched on this a bit, but maybe you could tell us a little more about what is OPSWA and really what is its purpose?
Okay, so the Ontario PSW Association is the only official professional association in Ontario for personal support workers. So what professional associations do is that we provide supports and membership to personal support workers in Ontario. In order to be a member of our association, you have to be a PSW graduated from an accredited program in the province of Ontario or be eligible for our grandfathering program. We offer $1 million professional liability insurance. That's mandated with every one of our memberships within the association. That is for the protection of the personal support worker and those in their care. And we also offer badges. So that I'm going to speak about that real quick because that's very popular with our PSWs. It gives them the recognition they so desperately seek in the field. Is that we have badges for our members. Our members get a badge with their name, their designation of PSW, their picture, and you can actually go online and look them up. To ensure that they do have a clear criminal record check, that their education credentials are up to par, and that they are who they say they are, and that they carry a $1 million professional liability insurance. So that's some of the stuff that we offer as a professional association. But really the most important thing that we do is we give it that professional voice that is so desperately needed. We spend a lot of time with Ontario government. We work very closely with the Ontario government. Just had a meeting with Premier Ford last week. That's an opportunity for us to share the PSW's thoughts, their plights on the front lines, what is actually really happening on the front line, and bring that right to the change makers in the Ontario government. So that's a huge part of what the professional association does. And it also promotes it with employers. We promote having a membership with the association as a best practice in Ontario because it not only protects the people that we care for, but also protects the PSW and the fact that like the liability insurance, there's oversight, you have support for all your questions and concerns. You can also up that liability insurance if need be. We can offer up to $5 million coverage for our PSWs if they require it. Some hospitals do. It happens. But also it's a place of belonging. We like to call it a family, really, of sorts. We're a family of over 52,000 strong in Ontario. So, I might not know everyone's name, but I know what an OPSWA badge looks like. And, I've seen more than my fair share when I'm out in my communities. And so it's a wonderful feeling to know that, there's someone out there that has their back. We take that very seriously. We really strongly support our PSWs.
Excellent. And by the way, you don't remember everyone's name, Miranda?
Geez, I wish I did. You know what? Honestly, James, I do have members that have been members since 2010 that I do remember their names and their numbers.
Well, I think we do that because sometimes our interactions or where we feel like, wow, I can really relate to this person. I get it. I love to network in this community, and I'm still plagued sometimes by going, oh, what is their name? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you kind of answered the second question is about why should PSWs across Ontario join OPSWA? Anything that you want to add to that beyond what you just told me?
Well, we also offer continuing education opportunities, right? So a lot of
Excellent.
we actually have a killer professor. Her name is Deb Chapman. She's new to the association, not new to me. I've known Deb for 15 years. She used to be a PSW professor at Niagara College, believe it or not. And so she came on with us, very part-time, but developing very PSW specific seminars and courses. One of the
Excellent.
ones that we do right now is a PSW refresher program. So it's only 12 hours. It was developed with the association. It's right from our Mosby's textbook that the PSWs know. It's our Bible. And it's just a refresher on everything that we took as PSWs, because we have a lot of people out there that, want to come back to the field. We highly encourage PSWs to come back. Or maybe they've been in it for so long as things have changed. I haven't been in the field as an active PSW in 10 years. I wouldn't know the first thing about taking care of a colostomy bag or stomach care. So, those are the courses that we're going to be coming out with shortly.
Excellent. That's good. And you're right. People need to be kept up to date on what's going on and the changes and what they can do to not only improve their own skills, but how they can help and look after clients properly. So totally get it. Now, these education things is obviously an important resource. Is there other resources that we should know about with OPSWA that help?
Yeah, actually we do. We have, gosh, there's so much, James. So I apologize.
That's okay.
We have our free lawyer line. So when you're a member of our association, you have access to 24/7 legal support, and not just for questions concerning your employment or your jobs, which is actually something we recommend if you have questions to call our lawyer line. But also, they also hit on questions about, unfortunately, divorce, custody, property issues. So this lawyer line has actually come in really handy with a lot of our members because it's free with their membership for the year of membership. So we have that. We have discounts on major stores. We've partnered with Attractions Ontario. So over the summer, our PSWs got huge discounts across Ontario for things like the Ghost Tour, which was in Toronto and Ottawa and Kingston. They had discounts on the boat tours in downtown Toronto and Harbourfront, Great Wolf Lodge. They had so many, and a lot of them took advantage of it. It was really great, especially there was a winery in there. And I think at one point we had an entire bus full of OPSWA members, we got told, that went on a winery tour down there. So we thought that was fun. It was an opportunity for them to shake loose. But after 2.5 years of COVID, 2 years of COVID, it just didn't apply to them. It applied to their families. So that's another thing that we really pride ourselves on is being able to not just extend these benefits or these discounts to the PSWs that we represent, but also for them to be able to take their families and experience those things at a discount, like the ROM, Royal Ontario Museum. That was another one we had. Hockey Hall of Fame, another one we had. I mean, the list was so many that we just couldn't put them out fast enough for them to grab onto. We also are partnered with Mark's Work Warehouse. They actually have a great discount thing coming up for our membership, I believe in December, for about 5 days of 25% off. But our regular sticker price is I believe 15% off scrubs all the time, and then 10% off the rest of the store. So that's another thing that we offer with our membership. So, and they just keep coming and coming. So sometimes I forget about all of them. I'm not going to lie. It's really great opportunities. We believe, you pay $197 for the year as a member, which, by the way, is tax deductible. All memberships are tax deductible, but you have over $700 of savings.
Wow. It sounds like the gift that keeps on giving, doesn't it?
It doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. And we don't stop. So yeah, exactly that.
A lot of those things actually be of interest to me. You could sign me up for the ROM. I love the ROM. And you could sign me up for any winery, I'll be honest. And one of my favorite regions in Ontario is the Niagara-on-the-Lake. I love it there. Oh my God, I love it there. Okay, so, tell me a little bit about how you guys are advocating for PSWs these days.
So one of the things that we're doing, we operate provincially, obviously, but we also operate on a federal level. So the association federally was just in Ottawa just about 3-4 weeks ago.
Right.
We hosted a parliamentary reception for parliamentarians and ministers. We had a great turnout, and it's quality versus quantity at those things. And we definitely got the quality come in. And one of the things we're advocating for at a federal level, which does play into provincially as well, is title protection. And let me explain that a little bit. So in Ontario and across Canada, we have the personal support worker, but we're called something different in almost every other province across Canada. Then you look at a definition of a support worker. So this all falls underneath the NOC code. So the NOC code is what the government creates in order for us to do our taxes or get paid or whatever, right? So there's over 100 titles for support worker in Canada, over 100 titles. So then we ask ourselves, why are our patients or clients or residents confused? Well, that would be the reason why they're confused. They don't know, and we all don't do necessarily the exact same job, but the actual like premise of it and how we perform it is exactly the same. So it's personal care, right? It's all based in personal care. So what we went to the government and we said, it was actually funny, James, because we went to the government and we said, look at all these titles, over 100 titles. We couldn't even fit them all on one page. No lie. And they said, oh my goodness, where did you guys get all these titles? And we said, well, the federal government. And they went, well, that's not good. We said, no, it's not. And the reason why it's not good is, like, number one, it creates divide, creates confusion. Not everyone thinks that PSWs are nurses. We are not nurses. Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with nurses. They play a very vital role in healthcare across Canada, and we admire them greatly. It's just a case that the PSW is a PSW. We perform bedside nursing care. That is our job. That is the main thing that we do. And the nurses don't. And that's the difference between the two. Nurses sometimes do, but primarily it's a PSW that does the majority of bedside nursing care. So if you have someone who, let's say, is from Ontario and they're receiving care from a PSW, and then suddenly they go to Vancouver and they're getting care from a healthcare aide. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know, like what is what. So they just refer to everyone as nurse, which causes confusion, allows employers to take advantage of different titles and give them new job roles within that title, new duties upon their scope of practice, which also puts people at risk. So by creating just one standard uniform title across Canada, across Ontario, what that will do is create a safer environment. Professionalism will just skyrocket, and we'll have a set scope of practice and standards of practice that we would have to adhere to. Now, here in Ontario, one of the things that we did advocate for over 10 years, and we won it, was the regulation of personal support workers. Now, PSWs have never been regulated. There have been 2 registries in the past in Ontario that the former Liberal government did try to make that happen. And in both times, the association knocked that down, because we need a registry. We needed something that would do more than just list names on a website. Right? We needed to have that oversight, that protection mechanisms, the regulations in place, the professional status, the title protection is what we needed, right? So with this, it's Bill 283. It's an authority. It falls underneath the Ministry of Health. The regulations are starting to be built. We go into conversations in January of 2023 to begin this. We're really excited because it will standardize and professionalize the PSW sector. Therefore, our biggest call is for that one name, the one title for across Ontario. Now, we can do that through those regulations. Federally is a bit more difficult, but at least here in Ontario, we'll be able to do that. So we'll have not just, we won't have PSW, supportive care aide, resident care attendant, home support worker, healthcare aide here in Ontario. We will have streamlined PSW, and that's what we want. So we can just stop the confusion. So that's one of the big conversations we've been having with the Ontario government, as well as retention strategies, how to promote the PSW profession, how to bring more people in. One of the statements I did say was, employers are losing PSWs, but we're still growing at the association. So obviously there's something we're doing right, and we need to rely on that to promote the profession. So yeah, mouthful, but that was the short version, believe it or not.
I hear you. Yeah, it's a lot. Well, it's interesting because on our platform, as we realize that when we start moving into other provinces, we're going to have to take all this into account. And it is frustrating because you're like, why is there no consolidation of this, or just saying, why isn't it PSW across the PSWs? I think is actually a great title. Yeah. I think it really does say a lot about what it's about. And Some of the other ones, maybe not as much, but even some of these might be good, I think you're right. You want something that's a clear vision as to what does this profession mean? And otherwise, what's the difference between that and that? Well, really nothing. It's just a different name. And you're like, okay, I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. So I think you touched on this a little bit. Next question is like, what do you envision for the future of the PSW practice in Ontario and of course, by extension, across Canada?
Well, our dream for Ontario is happening with the regulation. I mean, I fought for that, James, as an association. We fought for it for over 12 years. People think it's really easy to lobby government. It's one of the it's the most difficult job I've ever had. I mean,
Oh, we know.
yeah, I know. It's not easy. They think we just walk in those doors, and that is not how that works. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, our really the dream for Ontario is coming to fruition in the fact of regulation. But what we would like to see is the PSW become a profession of choice. Not just a fly by night kind of, I'm going to become a PSW and then I'm going to go be a nurse, which nothing wrong with that. Again, it's just it's like I said this to the premier last week, James, as I said, when COVID started, we needed an army of PSWs. We needed that army. We didn't have that army.
Right.
And so, and we saw it firsthand with the association. We didn't have that army. And we had lots of really great warriors that stepped up to the front and became leaders in their own right and marched into those long-term care homes. But we needed an army. And how do we have that army? Well, you make the PSW more. You don't just make it a PSW and then no extra training, no specializations, no accolades. No, you make the PSW more. So that's our goal for the future in Ontario and really frankly across Canada, to have one title across Canada, to be able to move provincially as a PSW, not have to redo your training, which drives me batty, not gonna lie. Like a PSW from Ontario goes to Nova Scotia and has to redo some training. Great. Because of our relationship with the Ontario government, we're able to take PSWs and CCAs and HCAs and PCAs from across Canada. And if they come into Canada or come into Ontario, we as an association are able to grandfather them to work in Ontario healthcare. Anywhere else, that's not the way it works. Why? It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't, and people don't have the money to do that. And we are so desperate on the front line. So that's one of the main things we want to do is interprovincial, get rid of those boundaries, work wherever the heck they want to work. I mean, we have a lot of military members who have wives that are PSWs. It would just make sense. It would just make sense. So that's one thing we want to see. And of course, professional recognition and proper regulation in every province. But that's like a 20-year goal. So hopefully we can get there sooner. But
one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And PSWs, in my opinion, they should be paid more. They really should, and respected more. I mean, because if you've ever had to have a PSW come in and look after a loved one, or maybe even our own selves or something, you realize at that moment, would I want to do that? I'm not sure. But I will tell you that I've met some beautiful people that are PSWs, and their desire and care for what they're doing is paramount. And you got to love that. You have to respect that.
Oh, yeah. You don't
So,
become a PSW because you don't become a PSW because you want to make oodles of money. You become a PSW because it's your passion and you want to help
yeah,
people. And
yeah, I
that's
think you're purpose driven.
exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
PSWs deserve a living wage.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so what would you like new and inspiring PSWs to know about your organization and the work you're doing?
Well, we want them to come join us. We want them to start off their careers with the support and the mentorship of the association, knowing that they have people that got their back, that they can ask those difficult and maybe embarrassing questions to when you first start your job, and to know that they're not alone. I think that's the key point to this association is the knowledge that you're not alone, that you have the support of your peers, your colleagues, that you have the ability to reach out to your association that can support you in any capacity. And to also know that you guys are extremely important and we need you, and we need PSWs more than ever right now. And it's not a case of quantity, we need quality PSWs. So
Yeah.
that's my message.
Yeah, excellent. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So, okay, another question that sort of came up and I'm meaning to ask, and I wanted to get your feelings about what we're doing as well. Like, what are your thoughts about caring support and working with us, and how do you see us being able to support PSWs? And I'm sorry for the last second question. I
It's
hope
cool.
that's okay.
It's cool. No, I love caring support. I think what you guys are doing is actually it's going to be hugely beneficial, and it's going to help us reconfigure home care in Ontario. I met with Minister of Health last week as well, and we actually brought you guys up in the conversation because we have to look at home care in Ontario differently. Well, across Canada, truthfully, let's be honest. But it isn't working how it is right now. I mean, yes, now we have these Ontario health teams and we have to figure out how we're going to support with those Ontario health teams, but no one's really sure what's even going on there. But obviously, caring support, you guys have a system that works. There is a safety element behind it. You work with us, so there's that safety element, and you're right involved in the system. So you're not just yourselves kind of floating on an island, right? You guys actually work with everyone and engage with everyone. And I think that's extremely important in healthcare, because a lot of people can get into healthcare because they have egos, and there is no room for egos in healthcare. We're talking about people's livelihoods. We're talking about, their well-being. These are human beings. So that's why we like caring support. You guys are proving yourself and then some to the association.
Thank you. That was love what you said. Thanks, Miranda, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that. We, similar to when you say about the mission of pretty well, PSWs in general. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. It's about that. For us, we're a purpose-driven organization, and our goal at first was say, hey, what if we just did something different? And what if our approach was, how do we streamline this? How do we really allow a candidate to shine? PSW, nurses, occupational therapists, or whatever on the platform. And because, when we were building this throughout the pandemic, we really predicted this would become a candidate-driven market. So we thought, okay, well, let's give them the opportunity to really showcase themselves. And then our approach, of course, too, is being proactive. We reach out, as you know. We don't sit back and wait. And our approach is not about what's in it for us. It's about how we want to help you.
Yeah.
And this is so critical. So I think this is great, and I really appreciate your thoughts, Miranda. This is awesome. Now, before we go, any last thing you want to add?
No, other than if you are thinking about becoming a personal support worker, please do reach out to Caring Support and OPSWA.
Absolutely. Okay, well, Miranda, this has been great. I appreciate it. You certainly had a lot to say, which was all quality stuff. No, and it was all quality because, I think what it does is it helps our audience understand that this isn't just, what maybe they thought it was, that there's a lot more going on, that you guys are working very hard to be the voice and the advocate of PSWs, not just in Ontario, across the country. And the very fact that you're trying to consolidate and say, hey, can we just create one title, one thing, give this a level of professionalism that it deserves. Yeah. So thank you so much. It's been lovely, and appreciate your attitude and your thoughts. Okay.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you.
We'll see you.